And finally, once we've learned to listen well, we have to learn to listen critically. As a student, or really just as a person in society, you're exposed to all kinds of different messages. And it's not always clear how we separate the truth from messages that are misleading or even just blatantly false. So there are a few ways that you can improve your ability to critically listen. First, we have to recognize the difference between facts and opinions. A fact is something that is indisputable. It's something that that researchers have come up with, that scientists have come up with, whereas opinions are your own thoughts about the facts. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but no one is entitled to their own facts. Critical listeners are aware of whether a speaker is delivering a factual message or one based on their own opinions. And we have to be able to figure out what that distinction is so that we can agree or disagree with the speaker's opinions, but come to know what the facts of the matter are. In addition, critical listeners will be able to uncover the assumptions that they have. If something is factual, then supporting evidence for it exists. And assumptions are the gaps that we fill in when we are presented with an idea. We sometimes make a connection between A and B when really no connection exists. And we have to come to understand when we are making those connections so that we can be aware of when assumptions are unwarranted or when those connections don't really exist. And we have to make sure that all of the messages that we hear are have supporting evidence and that we are easily able to make those connections with evidence rather than with assumptions. Being a critical listener also means being open to new ideas. Sometimes people are so stuck in the way that they think the world is that they completely shut out ideas that are contrary to the ones that they believe. And they're unable to listen receptively to messages that might make sense and might even be of great benefit to them. So we have to be willing to listen to others, especially when they disagree with us, and we have to be able to evaluate those messages fairly and come to understand what other people think, because you never know, those ideas might change your own ideas. In addition, we have to be able to rely on reason and common sense. These are sort of those gut reactions that we have, and we build those gut reactions by being critical listeners. When your common sense is telling you that a message is illogical, you probably are right. You have to ask yourself whether this speech is credible and coherent, and if the message is inconsistent with things that you already know, or if the argument is illogical, or if they're making exaggerations. Your common sense and your reason are going to tell you these things, and you can really only activate those things by listening critically. We can also be critical listeners by relating new ideas that we are listening to the old ideas that we already hold. And this is one of the most important things that we can do to understand a message. Relate those new ideas to the ones that we've previously held. And we can make those effective comparisons when we're listening to help deepen our understanding of a particular issue. And finally, one of the things that we can do to become critical listeners is to take good notes. Note-taking is a skill that improves with practice, and it's nearly impossible to write down everything that a speaker says, but careful, selective note-taking is really important because it gives us an accurate record of what was said. And so we have to find that balance between listening well and taking good notes. We might just write down key phrases to remind ourselves of what the listener said, and make sure that we emphasize the correct things when we are taking down that record.